And welcome to The Bottom Line, where we unpack some of the main business and economic stories of the day. This week, Poland will see preliminary GDP results for 2024. We will be fixated on 2025 and the geopolitical whirlwind is dragging us into. But those final numbers are rather important. We are joined by Kamil Sobolewski, Chief Economist at Employers of Poland, to talk about what this 2024 data means for Poland as it tries to make the most of 2025 with its challenges creeping up on the country. Hello, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Hello.
So, assuming the forecast of 2.8% GDP growth year on year comes to fruition, which aligns with Bloomberg's forecast, what are your views on this growth given the economic and geopolitical challenges that Poland was faced with last year?
Well, I believe this year this is a consensus story that we get an improvement in the economic growth. Most economists expected even close to 4%. The consensus stands at 3.5% for 2025. My personal view is less optimistic. I believe we have kind of supply problems in the economy, stemming from the fact that the investment rate was relatively low over the past decade. So we might see postponed effects of the lack of investments over this period of time. We will also see the shrinking of the labor market, of the labor force due to demographic factors. We will see the echoes of the Green Deal in Europe that doesn't allow Poland to exploit raw materials as extensively as we used to do historically. So taken all together, I believe supply factors might bring less optimistic picture than is generally assumed by economists. And I'm probably the only one who expects growth slightly below 3% for 2025.
But do you think 2.8% for 2024 is a satisfying result?
The 2.8% for 2024 will not change much. It can be 1/10 higher or lower, but we effectively have the number because 3 quarters have already been disclosed. And I believe this is a great result, looking at the peers in the region and looking at the context, looking at historical growth back in 2023 at just slightly above zero, and looking at the effectively recession in Germany over the last 2 years. I believe the Polish growth for an economy that is so closely connected with the German one, I believe this is an impressive picture, but let's keep in mind that this is based on strong demand stimulus from wage stimulus and social transfer stimulus that came together with the elections, both from the previous and from the current government, and will not be repeated this year.
Your economic forecasts focus on 2025, and you're definitely not afraid to be upfront. Can you tell us why you think that GDP and inflation will not increase significantly in comparison to 2024? Actually, you think that they'll be quite lower?
Well, I have noticed what happened last year. The real growth in labor-related incomes exceeded 9% last year. We also had impressive growth in social transfers, including the child benefits, that grew 60%. We had a 20% increase in the minimum wage. So what we should have expected was a corresponding acceleration in consumer spending. And this didn't happen. The polls have noticed that inflation today is well below the interest rate given by the central bank, which means we are in a strange situation for the Polish circumstances. For the first time after 6 or 7 rates, when real interest rates are positive again. So what Poles decided to do, and this is a social phenomenon that economists can hardly predict, Poles started to save instead of spend. So the increase in wages of more than 9% in real terms only corresponded with a 3% growth in consumption last year. If we take into account that for 2025, we probably can expect something like 4% real increase in wages, and a relatively smaller growth in not wage or labor-related incomes of the households, I don't think there is any space to expect consumption higher than 2% in real terms this year. And this is the main factor differentiating me from the other economists. On the other hand, I have a more optimistic outlook for the investment next year. The consensus expects 8% real growth in investments. My view is that 10%, which is due to the fact that we are well behind the peers. Just to give you an example, we know exact data for 2023. The Polish rate of investments was lower than 18%, while the Czech Republic, Hungary, or Romania were all between 26 and 28. So we could increase our real investments by 50% and still be along with the peer group.
But our regional neighbors, these economies are much smaller in comparison to Poland.
That's right, especially about Czech Republic and Hungary. Probably Romania is a bigger country with half the Polish GDP. So even there you see significant investment spending, and I expect this happening this year in Poland. We have the next generation EU funds that need to be spent this year. And we also remember that we have the highest military spending among all NATO members.
Absolutely.
NATO or arms purchases are also categorized as investments, so they will also add to this phenomenon, even if they don't increase the production supply in Poland.
But in terms of Polish investments, this is something that has been spoken of extensively in 2024, and it's supposed to be the focus of 2025. Experts constantly say that this will be the year of investments. But what is the best approach to get investments going so that they come to fruition, but also so that they get rolling and stay rolling?
Well, that's exactly the point. We don't need a sudden explosion followed by a standstill. We need a continuous increase of investments. And I believe stability and predictability of the business conditions of the economy, economic policy by every party involved that is done in accordance with the mandate of the institutions, this is probably the best way. So stabilizing the economic conditions, giving the businesses and the people predictability is probably the best general way to go. And I think we have lacked this credibility and this stability and this predictability over the last years. And this has had very negative effects on business sentiment. I hope this will change. Today, when we look at challenges, labor markets surely is a challenge due to the demographic element. We have been adding 1% of working people each year over the last 3 decades, and over the coming 3 decades we will be subtracting 1% of labor force each year. So this will be a problem. And the other problem is probably energy. Both the prices of energy are among the highest in European Union, where Poland is where European Union is among the highest in the world. And at the same time, some, especially bigger companies, have doubts about the availability of energy after 2030, after the coal blocks need to be switched off, and we still don't have the nuclear energy. So these are the probably 2 biggest challenges going forward.
The demographic challenge is something that comes up in every report. It's theoretically researched, but then there is no true plan or realistic trajectory as to how this problem will be solved. But the consequences are very significant, and they're literally around the corner when you look at the numbers.
I believe there is a plan. It just needs introduction. What can you do about demographics? First thing you can do is encourage people who are not active in the labor market to be active. We have especially women after 50, elderly people that are disabled or sick. They could and they often want to work, but they don't have the possibility. So this is one option to increase labor activity. The other option is immigration. We have been extensively using this opportunity. Today, 7% of the people working in Poland are foreigners. So you could enhance this strategy, care about integration of the people, to not have long-lasting negative social effects of immigration, but to have the economic fruits like many, for example, American economies do, in contrast to some European economies. But we are probably not using that effectively enough. And the last but not least element is investments and innovation. This is exactly the way how you can have less resources, less labor, and still keep growing. You need technology, you need investments, you need innovation, but you cannot eat the fruits from this element if you have investment rate among free lowers in European Union. So I think we know what to do, but now it's the time for implementation.
And just very briefly, one sentence, how do you feel about Trump's presidency on the Polish economy? Good or bad?
I think it's risk in financial terms, which means both an opportunity and threat. And it's up to accurate international economic business policy to have to eat the opportunity and not to fear the threat.
Okay, so to keep calm and carry on. Okay, Kamil Sobolewski, thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you very much.
And we were joined by Kamil Sobolewski, Chief Economist at Employers of Poland. Thank you so much for joining us today. I was your host, Marie Cato. Join us every weekday for Business Arena at 5 p.m. CET on TVP World. And for the latest in regional business, follow us on X and on tvpworld.com. And for more news and features, stay with us on TVP World. Goodbye.